guys, welcome to the Week Connect for November 7th and 8th. First, I just wanted to say thank you so much to any of you who volunteered for Light Night or Lighthouses or Trunk or Treat. All three were just outstanding successes, and we know that they would not have been possible without your support and help. So thank you very much. We're still in the lessons of Joseph. Last week you taught about Joseph's coat and the gift of his coat, and then you also taught about him being sold into slavery by his brothers, sold to the Egyptians by his brothers. And this week we're going to be talking about Joseph in jail. So the first chunk of Joseph's story is really hard. The entire concept of this month is that God has a plan for each and every one of them, and we're using the story of Joseph to show. So sometimes we don't always understand God's plan, and sometimes God's plan is hard, but we do know that God has a great plan for us. And so what we talk about with Joseph was we say the big sort of draw into the puzzle is that the puzzle's not done, that these parts of Joseph's story are really hard. But we know that his story all fits together for something really great. And his story is not done yet because our puzzle is not done. So you all have a piece of poster board. You should have two puzzle pieces from the previous week, and then you'll have this puzzle piece and it'll come right next to it. So the way it goes is 3 on top, 3 on bottom, and you'll see how the puzzle works. And so as you go through the month, you'll just see the connections of the puzzle piece. And by the end, they'll see Joseph's entire story, and that although Joseph had to go through some rough things, that God's plan is good and it prevailed. So as you teach the children this week, you'll talk to them about how Joseph made it to Egypt and that he worked in the Pharaoh's chief counsel's house. And even though Joseph tried to do everything right, and even though Joseph was really good, bad things still happened, and Joseph ended up in jail. And then you'll talk a little bit about Joseph's dreams and about the men he met in jail with him. And again, we'll talk about how you'll reiterate some of the lessons from last week, that you can show them the puzzle pieces as you stick them up. Remember Joseph getting his awesome coat. Remember Joseph being sold to the Egyptians, and now Joseph's in jail. And you can end with just letting them know that the puzzle's not done, that God isn't done with Joseph. Just like God's not done with them. He made them, and he made you, and he has a great big plan for you. And then you can pray. Then next week we'll be talking about how we'll go even deeper into Joseph's dreams, and so we'll talk about the Pharaoh's dream of the 7 bad cows and the 7 good cows. So it'll start getting a little bit better. So next week is the grains, sorting the grains, and week 4 is the gospel. And I'm really excited because we're going to do we're doing the whole puzzle thing. So we're going to do our gospel with Lego blocks, and then week 5 is Joseph saving his brothers from being hungry. So it's going to be a great story. So the craft this week is Joseph in the jail craft. So you're going to get pieces of yarn and cardstock paper. So what I would have them do first is color on the paper first. Now, for your little guys, your little 2s, and maybe even some of your 3s, if you don't want to glue yarn, don't worry about it at all. Just have a helper after they've colored. Have a helper help them draw lines to connect the dot to the other. So that could be super easy. If you do want to have yarn, though, you'll have Elmer's glue. This does not work very well with glue sticks, so you really do kind of need Elmer's glue. So you can put a little bit of Elmer's glue out on a platter, and then have them take a Q-tip and draw a line from one dot to another dot with glue, and then put your yarn on. Or you can just have a helper draw the glue line from one dot to another, and then just have them place their yarn. So whichever is easier for you guys. So that's your craft. And then you have, I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell you your opening activity. So you're all going to have a paper bag with a variety of different sensory objects. You're going to have, and you'll have 2 of each because we're doing puzzles. So you'll have one of the objects in the paper bag and one of the objects you'll have laying out on the table. And what they need to do is they need to feel the object on the table, and then they need to feel inside the paper bag to try and find the matching object. And so you have just funny things like styrofoam peanuts and baking cups and pieces of felt and pieces of paper towel and pieces of nylon. So anyways, just some fun things for them to go through. And the idea is that you're finding matches, that you're completing a puzzle, right? So that you can go into the story of Joseph. So sorry about that. That's your opening activity. Go into the story, do the craft. And then your secondary activity is, it's just a concept of this jail concept. You're going to have kids sit in a circle and have them sit with their legs extended so that one foot touches the other foot. So they're creating a circle, a closed circle on the floor with their legs. And you'll have 3 balls, and you'll put one ball in and have one child roll it across, and you have to keep the ball in the jail. And then you can make it harder by adding 2 balls or 3 balls, and then just keep going until they're not having fun anymore. And then, of course, you have your memory verse. This week's memory verse is, or this month's memory verse is Psalm 33:11. The plans, so we do like this for the plans. The plans of the Lord stand firm forever, or you can say stand firm forever, whichever you prefer to do with your kids. So that's it for the week. I would just encourage you to make prayer a good part of your lesson. It's always good. I try to, when I'm teaching in preschool, I try to have at least two points of contact for prayer. I'll have it during right after story time, right after story time. The storyteller will engage in that, and then I also like to do it after our memory verse, where we can thank God for the verse, thank God for how that affects our life. And you may even start engaging the kids in questions. So this week we're talking about how much we love and we trust God. And we want to help him to ask us to trust in his plan. So, maybe just engage the kids, asking them simple questions like, what is one special thing that God has given you? What kind of gift has God given you? Explain to them how, you can roll, you can cartwheel, you can whatever. Those are great gifts that God has given to you. Let's thank God for them, and maybe God will use those gifts you've given for your big plan or something to that effect, because they can understand prayer. And I think the most important thing for preschoolers to understand about prayer is that it's just so easy. It's the way we talk to God. When we pray, it's the way we get to talk to God, and anybody can pray anytime, anywhere. So that is it. If you have any questions, just contact your campus director. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.